My sister looked me dead in the eyes once and laughed. They leave you because you're boring. Maybe try being less predictable. That was the moment something inside me snapped quietly. No shouting, no tears, just silence. The kind that comes right before a storm you'll never see coming. Because for years, she made a game out of stealing the guys I dated. Like it was some kind of twisted competition I didn't know I was part of. And every time I brought it up, she shrugged, rolled her eyes, said, "I can't help it if they like me more." And somehow, she always made me feel like I was the insecure one. The first time she did it, I was too heartbroken to be angry. He ghosted me after 2 months. Started dating her a week later. She acted like it was a coincidence. Told me I was being dramatic. That I was reading too much into things. The second time, I started connecting the dots. Same pattern. Same fake sympathy. Same satisfied grin when she thought I wasn't looking. By the third, I knew. And yet, I still let it go. Because she was my sister. My only sibling. The one person I thought would protect my heart when the world didn't. But by the fourth, I stopped blaming the guys. I stopped blaming bad luck. I blamed her. Fully. And I blamed myself too. For letting it keep happening. For giving her space in my life when all she did was take from it. So when the last one, Ethan, walked out on me, I didn't cry. Not this time. I didn't text her. Didn't warn her. Didn't ask her if she knew he was now liking all her Instagram stories. I just waited. And 2 weeks later, there it was. A tagged photo. Her smiling. Him holding her waist. Captioned, "Happiness is unexpected dizzy." The caption almost made me laugh out loud. Because nothing about this was unexpected. It was predictable. Scripted. Recycled. Except this time. So was my response. I had already begun planning. Already begun writing. Already begun searching. I knew her type. Tall. Confident. Sharp-dressed. Charming enough to hide the danger. So I introduced her to someone. Someone I met through a friend. Someone who knew exactly why he was talking to her. Someone who didn't just check her boxes. He carried the pen that would rewrite the way she saw herself. His name was Adrian. But for her, he'd become something else entirely. The storm she never prepared for. The one she thought she was controlling. While she was the one being led. I made the introduction casual. Harmless. "Hey, this is Adrian. He works in tech too. You two would get along." And like I predicted, she lit up. Flashed that fake cute smile. Did that thing where she played shy for 5 minutes before turning the charm up to full blast. And Adrian. He was perfect. The perfect actor. Smooth. Attentive. Dangerously magnetic. But every word he spoke, every compliment he gave, every move he made, was something I had helped write. In detail. In strategy. She thought she was winning again. That she'd pulled another man into her orbit. She had no idea she had just walked into mine. For the first time. I wasn't the little sister watching from the corner of the party, wishing I had what she had. This time, I was the one in control. And I didn't need to steal anyone back. I just needed her to fall. And she did. Hard. Faster than she ever had before. Because Adrian was everything she thought she wanted. Everything she used to say I lacked in my boyfriends. He was confidence in a suit. He was attention without effort. He was emotional without being needy. He was the fantasy she thought she deserved. And the nightmare I built just for her. And the best part? She had no idea. That every time he texted her, every time he made her feel seen, he was already reporting back to me. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't rage. This was chess. And for once, she didn't even know she was on the board. She had spent years ruining my relationships, my confidence, my peace. Now it was my turn. And I didn't need to scream, didn't need to post, didn't need to expose her. I just introduced her to someone who would undo her quietly, from the inside out. And I would sit back, sip my coffee, and watch the sister who loved breaking hearts finally get her own handed back to her in pieces. Adrian entered her life like a dream she didn't realize was curated. He was everything she claimed no guy ever gave her. Attention, mystery, depth. The illusion of someone who saw past the surface but somehow still craved it. He was perfect, because I had made him perfect. From his favorite books to the fake job he loved to hate in downtown marketing. From the scent he wore to the slight scar on his jaw, I told him to mention if she asked. Everything about him was built for her consumption. She didn't stand a chance. From their first conversation, she was obsessed, texting me the same night. "Oh my God, you didn't tell me he was this hot. I feel like we've known each other forever. I don't know what it is, but there's something about him." I smiled reading those messages. The same way I used to cry over them when they were about the guys she stole from me. Adrian played the long game. He wasn't too available, but never too distant. He was the type to send a good morning voice note, and then disappear for hours without explanation. He left her craving more, wondering, guessing, doubting. Exactly what she had always done to the men I once loved. He didn't rush to sleep with her, didn't shower her with flattery. He studied her, learned her triggers, her insecurities, the things she bragged about and the ones she hid. I gave him the map. Every childhood wound she'd confessed in whispers. Every ex-boyfriend she stalked months after the breakup. The fear she had of being alone. The obsession she had with control masked as confidence. And Adrian, he used it all. Like a symphony. He built her up in private and made her doubt herself in public. He'd hold her hand at dinner and then tell her she looked tired in the car. He told her she was stunning, but that he missed natural girls, sometimes. Said he loved her confidence. Then asked if she ever felt like she overcompensated for something. She didn't even know she was being unraveled. She just thought, this must be what real love feels like. I watched it unfold from the outside. A friend invited to drinks. A sister playing third wheel. The inside joke Adrian would drop that only I caught. The smirk he'd flash at me when she wasn't looking. She was falling. And this time, there was no one there to catch her. She introduced him to our parents, which in our family was a big deal. She never did that. Not even with the guys she stole from me. "I really think he might be the one," she said. Eyes lit up in that sparkly, naive way. Like the villain in every love triangle finally believing she deserved her own happy ending. And I nodded, played along, pretended to be supportive. Like I didn't have a folder on my desktop titled Operation Closure, where every step of this revenge was documented with precision. Adrian and I met twice a week, to review the plan, to adjust dialogue, to analyze her reactions. And he was brilliant, better than I'd hoped. He played the perfect man, just flawed enough to seem real, just kind enough to be addictive, and just cruel enough to make her question her worth. A mirror to everything she'd ever done to me, to every guy she took, every emotion she trampled. She began skipping work to see him, blew off friends, stopped answering her phone for hours. She had become the girl who revolved around a man. And the irony wasn't lost on me, because I had been her once, while she laughed behind my back. She was obsessed, consumed, and completely unaware that every step, every word, every late-night confession, was part of the script I had written. She thought she was living her love story, but really, she was just walking through the pages of my revenge. And the best part? She still thought I was just her supportive sister, smiling from the sidelines, cheering her on. She didn't know that I had finally figured out how to hurt her, the same way she had hurt me for years, quietly, completely, and with a man she thought she chose, but who had only ever belonged to me. It started slowly. Little cracks in the perfect image she thought she had found. Adrian would take hours to reply to her messages, then suddenly flood her inbox with sweet words that made her feel foolish for ever doubting him. She called it mystery. I called it manipulation. And he did it perfectly. She used to love being the one in control. She thrived on keeping others off balance, on knowing they needed her more than she needed them. But now, she was the one checking her phone at 2 a.m., the one rereading texts, wondering what she'd done wrong, asking me if I thought he was maybe just stressed lately. I told her, "He's probably just busy. You know how guys are." And she nodded, trying to believe it, trying to ignore the way her confidence was cracking right down the center. Adrian had learned her patterns, and he used them all. He started showing interest in other women, subtly, just enough to sting, not enough to accuse. He'd tell her, "Don't be so sensitive. You know I'm just friendly." And she would try to smile, try to pretend it didn't bother her, try to act like she didn't recognize the exact emotional confusion she used to create in others. She became anxious, started dressing up more, buying new makeup, trying to match what she thought he wanted. She told me she didn't feel pretty enough lately, and I had to bite my cheek to keep from laughing, because this was the same sister who used to mock my clothes, my style, who once told me, "You'll never keep a guy if you dress like that." Now here she was, dressing up for someone who made her feel not quite good enough. She cried to me one night, said she didn't know what she was doing wrong, that Adrian seemed to be pulling away, that she couldn't tell if he liked her or if she was just convenient. And I looked her in the eyes, just like she'd once looked at me, and I said, "Maybe you're just not his type." She flinched, but she didn't argue, because somewhere deep down, she'd said that same line to me, and now she understood how it felt. Her confidence was slipping. She second-guessed everything, and still, she clung to him. Because when someone finally makes you feel the same confusion you built your entire identity on, you don't know how to walk away. You only know how to chase what you used to control. And she was chasing hard, while I, for the first time in years, didn't have to run at all. She didn't notice the setup, not even when it was staring her in the face. Adrian had become colder, more distant, but just warm enough to keep her hopeful. He missed calls, canceled dinner, forgot anniversaries that hadn't even been official. She started blaming herself. Maybe she was too clingy. Maybe she came on too strong. Maybe if she just gave him space, he'd come back. She didn't realize that every excuse she made for him was one she once refused to hear from me. When I cried over the men she stole, she called me dramatic. She was the one staring at the door, checking her phone, waiting for a reply that never came. Adrian began phase 2, exactly as we planned. The emotional whiplash. He disappeared for 2 days, then showed up at her apartment with flowers, told her she was everything, held her, kissed her forehead, said she made him feel seen. She melted. Of course she did. And then he ghosted her on her birthday. No call, no message, nothing. She sat at the restaurant, in her new dress, at a table for 2, while people around her blew candles and took photos. She stared at the door, for an hour, then 2, until finally, she picked up her phone and called me. Her voice cracked before she said anything. "Do you think something happened to him?" I said, I don't know. Maybe he's just not the type who remembers dates. She paused, and I could feel her breaking. Right there. In public. In the silence that always follows disappointment. She got home and found nothing. No card. No apology. No missed call. She texted him 5 times. He read every one. Didn't respond. The next day, he posted a photo. With another girl. Just his arm. And her smile. No caption. Just a location tag. Magic night. I watched her see it. Watched her face drop. Watched her scroll through the comments trying to convince herself it was old. Trying to tell herself. That girl didn't mean anything. She called him. Again. Again. Voicemail. Again. She cried. Curled up on the couch. Said, I don't know what I did. I don't know why he's doing this. And I just rubbed her back. The same way she used to rub mine after destroying my relationships. Softly. With hollow comfort. Knowing full well. She was finally feeling what she'd made me feel. Over and over. And the best part? She still didn't know. That I was the one holding the strings. That I had written the script. And Adrian. He was just reading his lines. It took her 3 full days to break. 3 days of silence. Of staring at her phone. Of replaying every moment she'd ever had with him. 3 days of texting him things like, I don't understand what I did wrong. Please just talk to me. And finally, I miss you. He never responded. Because by then, his part in the play was over. The plan was never to drag it out. It was to give her the perfect story. Then cut the final scene mid-sentence. Just like she had done to me. Every time she tore someone from my life and called it fate. She showed up at my apartment without warning. No makeup. Hair a mess. Eyes red. And I knew. This was the moment I had waited for. The moment she was finally ready to ask the question. The one she never asked all those years she took and took and took. From me. From my heart. From my peace. She sat down on the couch like she'd collapse without support. And said, I think I'm being punished for something. I didn't say a word. Let the silence hang. Let her fumble through her confusion. Her regret. Her unraveling ego. Then she whispered it. I don't think Adrian was ever real. I raised an eyebrow. And smiled. Just slightly. Enough for her to catch it. Enough to confirm what she feared. Her breath caught. She blinked. And asked, Did you have something to do with this? I leaned forward. Met her eyes. And said, Every part. Her face went pale. Like her skin suddenly understood the depth of the betrayal. Like her heart had only just caught up with what her mind had been avoiding. You're lying, she said. But it wasn't a protest. It was a prayer. And I shook my head slowly. Told her everything. How I found Adrian. How I planned the timing. The compliments. The emotional sabotage. The birthday silence. The girl in the photo. She stared at me. Mouth open. Tears falling. The same tears I had cried. Alone. While she was out taking shots with the guy I thought I'd marry. You're cruel, she said. And I smiled. Because that's exactly what she used to call me. When I asked her to stop. When I begged her to stop stealing my boyfriends like they were accessories. No, I said. I learned from the best. She stood up. Tried to say something. But her voice cracked into a whisper. And she left. That was the last time we spoke for months. She unfollowed me. Blocked me. Sent a text weeks later that just said, I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. Because I was. For the first time in years. I had peace. And the sister who used to turn my life into a competition. Had finally played a game. She couldn't win. Because I didn't just introduce her to Adrian. I introduced her to consequences. and when she looked into his eyes, she was looking into every broken part of me that she helped create. And I finally got to watch her shatter too.